Hi, I'm Akhil. Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing the sequel to Ranveer Singh's Dhurandhar. It's called Dhurandhar The Revenge, as if the first movie was not obvious enough in terms of its violence, whatever, but we'll get to that. It's directed by the same person. The first movie came out in December, and now we have the sequel in March. It was not really planned. It was like supposed to be one movie. Now we have two movies out of the one that he shot. Yeah, what do you make of this one?
Like an assault is quite difficult to get through.
I feel, to me, like the way I sort of opened that is because I feel like it was very obvious in the first 2 hours to me that this movie was not planned in terms of a 3-act structure, of like a new 3-act structure, because it was just like, it was just going nowhere for me.
Because like in Bollywood they do like 2 halves, right? And each half usually has like a 3-act structure. But this one just has like, I don't know, if total may like what, 3 chapters, like some weird number.
I think those are just like a post-production invention.
Or maybe because
like the editor is the same person who also edited Subedar, and you can tell like both films are just adopting this structure thing. Like clearly this guy's just copy pasting his technique everywhere.
It comes from the director, right? Because even the movies that he's produced, a similar sort of chapter.
So you're saying you would hope that these chapters were down on the script as well, and not like
because
created later.
The titles of the chapters are so like grandiose and like important. Like you have to imagine that they were like written down in the script. Oh, I'm doing something important, you know.
I don't know. I feel like maybe some were written down, but there was no way he had all, whatever, 23 or whatever the number is written down, because the movie was not planned this way, right? Like I'm sure the chapters were called something else, or the number was different on the script versus what they shot and what he ended up with, because then he's like, oh wait, this movie is too long, I need to split it up.
I don't understand. Like, did they actually shoot like 8 hours? Or is like some kind?
Yeah, I feel like because there's so much action involved, maybe like that is not like fleshed out on the script, right? Like they're just like, okay, yahan pe action karna hai. So maybe the script is not actually 900 pages long, because that would be crazy if he thought he had a script that long and he could squeeze it into one movie. So maybe the script is like around some weird number, which is probably like more than one movie, but he thinks it's gonna be some one grand movie he can while he's filming it. And then I think they shot like so much that he's like so in love with all of the material, which is so evident on the screen as well. Like he's keeping random scenes which are essentially going nowhere to the very end, right? Like the scenes that are during the credits, it's essentially like leftover material which should be discarded at all costs, but he has decided to keep them because he's like, okay, I shot it, so tum dekh lo.
Point I get, you shot it, so what sense does it make to now put in the end credits? Because you could have just put it in the movie and it would have been like, what, 3 minutes longer? Who cares at that point, right? Because that is more, but montage is more important, I would argue, than 90% of the other stuff that's in the actual movie. Because in the training montage, we learned that Rizwan was a spy, as opposed to him just being revealed as some sort of henchman to Hamza.
No, which becomes like pretty self-evident also during the movie, right? Like it's not like a twist at the end. During the movie, you have found out, you have discovered essentially that Rizwan, like the way he's helping him, there is no way he's not involved with the Indian agency.
But like by the nature of this movie, nothing is left to interpretation, right? Like no reveal is left to the audience. Like everything is underlined. So for the Rizwan thing to be just assume what you will, it's super strange, because this is the same movie in which Dawood Ibrahim is introduced with like a photo of Dawood Ibrahim, and then Rakesh Bedi saying, "Ye Dawood hai, Ibrahim, Mumbai wala."
Yeah. And bar, it's like a pre and post thing, because pre thing is that everyone keeps saying Bade Saab. But once the movie has introduced him in person, they're like, okay, actually we don't need to use the Bade Saab moniker anymore. Now we can just keep saying Dawood. I'm like, but then why? You could have said Dawood pehle also. So it's like the characters know they're in a movie, because the way they refer to this one character is changing post the reveal to the protagonist.
Right. It's like like the audience knows he's. Now we don't need to refer to him as Bade Saab anymore, whereas that makes no sense in the world of the movie, because people would still need to use code names.
You would still maintain the same consistency, right? Exactly, code names or whatever you prefer. Like if he does not prefer being called by his first name, then you would call him by the moniker that everyone has developed for him as a manner of respect or whatever. You would not change it because the audience now knows who he is.
It would be the same as, like Yelena calling Jaskirat after learning his real name. It doesn't make sense.
And to the point of the photo, that is so laughable, man. Like, just because that is the photo that has been released to the public at some point does not mean he will pick that photo also, right? Even if he's trying to show me that he's very vain, like self-indulgent, he'll have a giant poster of himself, at least have the, like, I don't know, common sense to think that he'll have a photo with his family or something, right? Which will have his wife or daughter or someone. No, the one sketchily shot photo, like half blurred, released to the pub media at some point in their life, same photo he has in his room.
Yeah, it's not as if personally in his own time he hasn't ever taken a photograph of himself. It's just that we rely on the media for our own pictures. It's really stupid.
Which is again like it's his room is crafted for the audience because the audience knows Dawood through that photo. That's why that photo is there, not because that would be photo is appropriate for the setting in which he lives.
Which, you know, brings me to one very curious thing, like how it's resolved or not resolved. It has no dramatic payoff per se. I don't care if, you know, Rakesh Bedi is torturing Dawood or whatever because he's not the protagonist. I care what does to Dawood, right? And in this wish fulfillment universe that this movie kind of exists in, this thing would be to whatever, exact vengeance on Dawood, and you can basically get away with it because nobody really knows what's happening to the real person.
Yeah, but like the insanity is that, and this goes back to our discussion after the first movie, right? That this is not a actual character. He is a stand-in for a lot of Indians, essentially desires to do things to the other civilians of the other country, or like people they feel are enemies, quote unquote, of, you know, their daily lives apparently, right? Because in the first movie also we were like, oh, why is this like flashbacks and stuff, like he's dreaming of like terrorist attacks from in India, which he's never lived. Right. And this goes back to that as well, because that moment, even though we are saying, you know, like narratively it makes no sense, and you're pointing out rightly that, you know, like we should be invested in the protagonist. No one cares ki second guy kya kar raha hai and what he has done, whatever, 30 years ago, whatever. It worked for the audience. The audience was cheering for it. They were like, "Arey wah, kya master stroke." Like that's for the mood that was in. Right? Because for them, it's like, okay, it goes back to that. They're like, okay, whatever is done to them, no matter who is doing it, it's everyone is like, oh yeah, we're doing something to our enemies, because the main point goes back to hum ghar mein ghus ke aapko kuch karenge. And that's really what's resonating with the audience.
So the audience is resonating is what is said by Rakesh Bedi, not what is actually shown on screen, because it's not like Dawood stopped planning terror attacks 30 years ago when he was poisoned. No. He's still doing his terror stuff, like from like the deathbed.
Yeah, like if Rakesh Bedi was sent whatever 45 years ago, and I don't know at what point he did his poisoning thing.
He looked pretty young.
Was it after? Yeah, pretty young, but I don't know if it's after 93, before 93, I have no idea, right? At what point are you doing?
No, even after 93 अगर किया है आपको तब वहाँ भेजा है. Because they look pretty young.
उसको भेजा तो उसको 93 से पहले है. He's saying 45 years or whatever, right? Like, that is like before 93 he has gone. And he probably has done this after 93, for instance. Like, let's imagine that, because the movie is not giving us enough.
How answers. Is the government okay with you knowing where Dawood is, not really taking care of him, and allowing him to continue doing criminal stuff?
Yeah, like, नहीं slowly मारने दो, but बहुत कुछ यहाँ पे हो रहा है.
Which just shows the level of cruelty that has seeped into our society, right? We would, like, if you're saying it worked for your audience, then that means that audience agrees with making him suffer. The cost of, you know, going away with
everything, right? He was also part of like IC 814 and all of that. So in the logic of the universe, you're essentially saying what you just said. Yeah, like this is fine because like uske साथ में मजा आ रहा है करने में ये सब.
It's so stupid. Second thing that didn't make dramatic sense to me is Hamza living at the end. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I really thought like what at what point, or what is the narrative, like, you know, output of that? Like, why would you do that? Like, how does it feel like a payoff? Like, everything the movie is saying about like
Balidan and sacrifice.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, literally, there's like a 3-minute scene with the Ajit Sanyal ka, like Doval ka, whatever, uska junior having a scene like showing Bansal. That. So then, if whatever, so if he has a scene about that, I was like, okay, isko marna hai na, then that's the point.
It doesn't make sense, right? Because your entire thing hinges on here are the unseen heroes who sacrifice, etc., etc. He has sacrificed a life in India, but that life was going to end anyway, so I don't know what he's sacrificing. I'm also confused about his motivations, because the movie suggests that he's doing this because he wanted to be an army officer, but then it also suggests that he's doing it because his mother ka future secure karna hai. So like which one, pick a lane, because if I am confused about tera loyalties kahan hai, I'm confused about your character and I don't really buy into it.
Yeah, and this is like the weird thing for me again is that movie anyway is doing revisionist history in a number of ways for like India's history. But I feel like they're also doing it to his own character as well, because none of these motivations were properly like set in the first movie.
Yeah, which is fine.
After the first movie, we were discussing, we were like, oh, is he like the way they were portraying was like, oh, he was a petty thief or someone who was sent abroad to do all of this. And now in the second movie, you're like, no, wait, actually he was a budding like army guy who like went wayward and then he was like all of this. I'm like, bhai, tum kitne answer de chuke ho mujhe about this character at this point?
Was not, he didn't simply just go off the rails. He was forced to go off the rails because of the system that didn't give him justice or his sister justice.
Yeah, a lot of people like don't get justice from the system, but a lot of people don't have like the means or they don't have the craziness to like start buying AK-47s to kill people.
No, but I was kind of surprised that the movie is admitting that, hey, like the government and the system can fail its citizens, and the character is, basically yelling it out to Sanyal and saying that, listen, why should I serve a country that let me down? And despite that, it's winning over the audience, right? It's saying that, sacrifice karna tha tumhara, it's not a choice. Like all of you have to sacrifice for the nation, and you're all going to sacrifice in different ways. Some people are going to sacrifice monetarily, whatever. Some people are going to sacrifice with their lives. But you can't complain about it. You are lucky to be born in India, and this India specifically. So that is like one of the more insane things that this movie kind of just casually suggests.
Yeah, I think the movie has a very, obviously the movie has huge blinders on, which is why the output that you see. But it also has selective blinders on that it sometimes does not realize that it is accidentally making points that are beyond its like vision.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody asks why Kashmiris are turning to militancy. Nobody asks.
I know, right? And they hammer in that point. Like anyone who has like knows what a metaphor and analogy is, like will easily be like asking those questions, because in the early part of the movie, when the Pakistani politicians are sitting around and he's asking Sanjay Dutt and Rakesh Bedi for advice on like how to deal with what's happening, the proposals that come up and the proposals that are accepted essentially are we will use these Balochistan people to like point fingers, and we'll paint them as the separatist, and that will create like a diversion, and that will help us like conquer people in Lyari or whatever, right? I'm like, okay, theek hai, one, you've done this. Literally 2 minutes or 30 seconds after that, Rakesh Bedi ka answer is, another thing we can do is we can take these students also who are like, Baloch ke students who are studying, and we can create anti-nationals out of them also. And the Pakistan guy is like, yeah, that also is a great idea. I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, Aditya Dhar, do you understand? You essentially are drawing parallels to like what is happening in India, or is it like this? Is this beyond your capabilities of mental faculties?
But wo khud Kashmiri Pandit hai. Like that is the strange part. So I don't know what he actually believes in, because there are some people who are opportunists, right? And there are some people who actually are like mentally screwed. I tend to believe that these people are mentally screwed. These people aren't opportunists, because opportunists are a little more like brazen, right? This one is like meticulous. Like it's like there's people have worked hard on this. In the sense that, not just money has been spent, but like thought has been paid. So I don't know, that's much worse, right?
Yeah, like the amount of like work they're doing on behalf of essentially the ruling government is crazy to me. Like you are a writer sitting in some corner of Andheri for like months trying to understand how every mistake that the government has done in the last 10 years, how can I make it look like a quote unquote masterstroke? Like how can I make it look like, oh my god, no, actually there was immense thought behind this, and it was not a knee-jerk reaction as we actually all know it to be.
Reaction like internal issues or like economic issues. It was all simply like Pakistan. Doesn't that
everything is like external, right? Nothing happened. There are no faults in India. It's all like if you solve that externally, outside India is like saved.
But matlab it's like 11,000 crore रुपए आ गए, terrorism fund हो गया, etc. But 60,000 crore तो नहीं आए ना. So like let's pat ourselves on the back for that. It's crazy. Like
full like whole cloth like invention, right? Like no basis, nothing. Because that's what, going back to the Dawood thing, because his character, like in real life, because the figure is essentially an information and intelligence black hole, right? Indian agencies have not been able to paint a picture of him for like decades now. The last public like mention of him that anyone can credibly know is some like wedding of his like daughter or something, 2011 or something.
Jawad's son or something, right?
वो 2005 है. 2011 is the last one where like I think a younger daughter got married and he's reported to like have been seen in Karachi or something. 15 years, there is no like intelligence on this guy, right? Which is essentially like a failure for India to not essentially know the guy who has been chasing.
We don't say that. Quietly, Hamza Ali Mansari was doing all the intelligence along with
Exactly.
Mr.
So I'm like, that's the great thing to have as a writer is because कुछ पता नहीं है जो तुम्हारा मन है you can stick on the character ना because no one can question you.
तो पिछली वाली पिक्चर में था तो like 26/11 happened because Hamza ने तो देखो अपना काम कर दिया था. But the government wasn't smart enough to act on his intel. And here so basically he was, right, like in terms of even like a spy movie, he writes down stuff, like invisible ink, as if he's in like the 1920s. And then the notebook is discovered in like 3 seconds by his wife. And not by anybody else, even though it exists. Then there is one character, Alam, who exists.
And like the notebooks we are told us that everyone has a notebook. So even Rizwan like should have also have a notebook, but luckily that's not been discovered. वो बचा हुआ है.
Notebook. Like someone normal, like regular audience would be like, what? Why notebook? Why do you?
और notebook है तो at least show the evolution कि पहले चलो phones नहीं थे तो पहले notebook था when he was first sent. Then they developed methods and they started using I don't know like Telegram or WhatsApp. खत्म. End of story.
में है क्या नाम है of people that?
Yeah, notebook is literally like a Wikipedia article of like हमारे chapters क्या है movie के.
And like. And I don't know what year it is, but he is like straight up FaceTimes with like Sanyal during like a thingy, like while he's murdering people. And like how, excuse me, abhi to you are doing like 5 levels of communication ke through.
Yeah, and subterfuge ki किसी को पता ना चले.
Now you're just like straight up like calling your boss in India. This is at the stage where people are already onto you, right? Like you're they're closing in. Like people know that you're
they're like अबे ये नहीं मर रहा है सब मर रहे हैं इसके around.
It's really stupid. And yeah, the movie does those regular things where people live only because they need to die later. Hamza is only because...
Yeah, like Hamza is that's continuing from the first part, right? He's the only intelligent character. Scenes will go absolutely nowhere until Hamza arrives. Like even the scene, like the action scene outside the mosque or whatever, the scene is like at a standstill until the protagonist arrives. And then the protagonist needs to achieve task A. He needs to get from point A to point B. So he will get there no matter who is in the way. There are like a million bullets flying in both directions. Rockets are flying, but no, the guy can just walk through it because it's Hamza.
Funny, or because it's like in those video games where you have like some sort of like XY together at this speed, then you get like this thing
combo.
अब like भाई अगर तुम वो कर सकते थे तो तुमने पहले क्यों नहीं किया? Like so if you had like a bazooka in like under like
bazooka was being saved for the big guy. कि वो आएगा वो उसको बाहर तो आना ही है because you have like plotted all of this properly, so there's no way he will actually collapse inside the mosque and possibly get his leg injured and not be able to make it out. No, we will save this amazing weapon that we should have deployed 5 minutes ago because he will show up.
Could have just used that bazooka earlier, entered the mosque, Hamza from whatever trouble he was in, but Hamza cannot be saved. Hamza needs to do this.
Hamza saves you. Yeah. What do you think? Hamza to be saved तो मतलब क्या हो रहा है दुनिया?
And he's doing all the dirty work himself this time, even though he's like the previous movie where he's like a low-ranking person, right? So he has to.
Now he's like a Raman Dakhet level.
वो खुद personally जा रहा है to do like murders. He's still going into like rooms where Yami Gautam shows up and does like some sort of poisoning. Why does he have to be there? Like, shouldn't he not be there to like?
I don't know. Must be a contract thing. Okay. You don't show me in some scene where you can't show this.
It's very strange. So, for instance, like, what's his name? Rashid, right? Who did we speak about, Abhi? Rizwan, sorry. Rizwan, it feels like they've edited out like entire things, right? The previous movie's second in command, Uzair, is like removed from the film.
Yeah. He's just like packed off and sent off. They're like, इसको बाद में बताएंगे क्यों हमने pack off and sent off किया.
को भी basically हटा ही देते हैं.
Yeah. Like the women तो are not existing in this universe anywhere, right? They only exist as like objects of violence, victims. There is no like nothing given to them to do. Like, I mean, she could have had an entire arc after that, right? If you have discovered your husband is literally not even from a different country, he's been lying to you, but he's actually working with an intelligence agency. Like, give her some agency, give her something to do. Like, let her reveal to her father maybe, and then find out that even her father is not from here.
Movie doesn't
Like, have some interesting thing for it. They don't care about female characters at all. They're like, nahi yaar, tum baitho chupchap.
Her entire life is a lie. Her father has been an Indian spy, husband is an Indian spy, her son is half Indian. She's erased from the story and just she gets like those one token वो जो scene नहीं होता जैसे Animal में रश्मिका मंदाना का था.
Yeah, that essentially. Like, when the party is happening, you know, when he brings the guy home, his childhood friend, bhai, there are 900 men and Yelena is the only woman.
There are also that party, how he like gets out of it is so convenient, right? Like it almost feels
again because Hamza has to be saved.
It feels as if Farah Alam character existed only to die in that one moment.
For this moment. Yeah. Like, in that sense, like, Hamza's character, essentially, like, they could have built on the fact that whoever he touches, die. But the movie, like, is not bothered with those things. You know, ki, bhai, people are dropping, like, flies around him.
Do you remember Munich? Spielberg wala. So at the end, basically, Eric Bana does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But, like, Eric Bana's like, oh my god, what have I done? There is, like, introspection and there's, like, it worth it? Was all the violence and retribution worth it? I don't think this movie goes there. Though it ends on a sort of meditative note. I don't think it's interested in cost of what it
No, it's not. Because it's only interested in the Indian side of it, right? It does not see half the people in the movie. Not half, because mostly spend the movie
unless you're Major Iqbal, who gets like a daddy issues backstory for some reason.
Yeah.
Which did not
know what was happening there.
Was
not required. Like, for a movie that's already like so long that across two parts you have now exceeded the runtime of Godfather or whatever.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
You don't need like your third villain ka backstory.
I know, right? Just, it's fine. Everyone is a token character. Just keep him as a token character.
I suppose it does serve one purpose. It not only makes the current generation villains, but it also makes the earlier generation villains, and not just villains, like barbarians, right? Which is what the movie wants to.
That is the point of the entire, I think, movie eventually, is to paint everyone out around India as barbarians.
Even inside India, right?
India because we're the white saviors.
No, but even inside India, right? There's that politician guy who gets shot. He's like fully doing bidding of ISI. So the movie is living up to its promise, from last time, where it says like Asli Dusman to desh ke andar hai. So yeah, I mean, it wants to paint all Muslims as barbarians. There's no other way to say.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, I was thinking, but it's not like Leni Riefenstahl was the only person making propaganda during World War II.
Even the US was doing so much.
Correct. But she's remembered because her films were like better. The others were terrible. So in the long run, I would hope that this backfires. Like, just because you're more skilled than, say, the person who made like Kerala Story or whatever, I hope that they come for you first. Because you made more money.
World War II analogy, what I think also matters is who wins in the long run. Because the Allies won in the long run, US has been able to bury the heavy association the government had with Hollywood.
John Ford.
In that era. Like every director of that big director of the era made a propaganda movie. And crazy propaganda movie. Painting, Asians as Orientals and like yellow people, all of it. Like racism on every level happened in those movies to drive the war effort.
Yeah, but then
and those directors had a great career after.
Yeah. Instead of being labeled a propagandist like Leni Riefenstahl, you're given a Netflix series about your heroic contributions to your country during the war, right? Because that's what happened with these people. So yeah, maybe they're hailed as heroes. Maybe they're prosecuted. I don't know.
Yeah, but the only thing is like those movies were forgotten eventually. They were like, okay, we did crazy stuff during the war, but no one like resurrects those movies as a sign of like US imperialism.
Which also leads me to the question, like, if India can do this to Pakistan in the movie's own universe, right? Like have plants basically in upper levels of government. Why can't Pakistan do it in India?
I mean, that is the reality that it escapes the movie's filmmakers, right?
Is like not even addressed हमने not even addressed the point that हमारे यहाँ भी था और हमने उसको पकड़ के मार दिया देखो because we are so smart. No, it's not even a possibility that they could have sent someone here, whereas we know that
that's how it works. The real work life works all the time. Like you have people, both sides have been doing this for ages, because finally your nuclear powers, there is no way you don't have spies. Otherwise you would have no idea what's happening in that other country.
And like,
it's a lived reality.
Yeah, like, and like, if you just see like India Nepal border, like you can just walk across it. Like it's not even, it's not even difficult. So it's just the movie is very like conveniently ignoring the real world and setting
like
up
we
this,
are the only intelligent species around here.
and everything is part of some grand plan which was started even before Madhavan was born, or sorry, Sanyal was born. It's just insane. It's insane that this movie is being taken seriously, and like it will, like the stuff that it kind of,
people forget taking it seriously. People are taking it to the point that they think it's a Wikipedia article, right?
historical fact ban jata hai na after a point. But
Like shuru mein literally I even timed it because I was so annoyed. Literally there's a 90-second disclaimer which is being read out to you telling you
that this is all made up.
Literally telling you 90 seconds पढ़ के तुम्हें सुना रहे हैं वो, but किसी को सुनना नहीं है वो part ना.
तो जब हमारे यहाँ पे न्यूरनबर्ग ट्रायल्स होंगे तो बोलेंगे देखो डिस्क्लेमर तो डाल दिया था, अब लोग बेवकूफ हैं तो क्या.
Which similarly every movie has it. Like all the movies that are debunked, like Kerala Story and all of these, all of them have this disclaimer because the makers know they can't actually stand up to court. But people conveniently ignore them. It's like, so essentially that's the commonality between the filmmakers and the audience, right? It's like selective facts. Like you choose what you want to believe in.
Yeah. And most people choose to believe lies these days. So there you.
Yeah. Right. That's a great depressing note to end the podcast on. That's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Threads at The Long Take Pod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review with this episode, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.